Okay. Anyway, so I'm on with Murray Lundburg. He is a noted uh, Alaskan tour guide. He's been a bush pilot. He's been a he's written a book and a tour guide about Alaska. And so I'm sure I've missed some things, Murray. So I'll let you start out, and you can let me know what I missed.
Well, it's not that many years ago. Even my wife was saying, "You did what?" Because yeah, my background is quite varied. But as far as what we're doing today, um, in 1985, I came up to the Yukon in Alaska with my own little airplane and had a look around and fell in love with the place. So 5 years later, I saw an ad in the Vancouver newspaper. Tour bus driver was wanted in Whitehorse, and I said, "Yeah, I can do that." So I quit my job, paying driving semi out of Vancouver, and came up here and never looked back. I then spent 23 years driving tours in the Yukon and Alaska and Northwest Territories. Most of them were hooked up to a cruise ship. Either I picked people up from a ship or dropped them off at a ship. So I got to know the ships fairly well that way. And then in 2005, I got a call from a company in Florida who books speakers onto cruise ships. And the question was very simple. Can you do the same thing on a cruise ship stage as you do online on your Explore North website? And I said, yeah, I can do that. It's kind of funny because I went on my first cruise with my, at that time, fiance, expecting to hate it because that's just not the way we live. And about halfway up the gangplank, I said, this has potential. And so I've now been on 13 cruises as either the naturalist or destination speaker.
Let's start with Skagway. Skagway is a popular port, and it's the one that's closest to your home. So let's do this. Let's work with try to talk about, for a first-time cruiser, what would you recommend in Skagway?
Sure. For first time, my absolute hands down choice is the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway. There are several different excursions. For me, being a train fan, the longer it is, the better. But the reality is that most people just take the 2.5 hour excursion up to the summit, to basically the Alaska-Canada border and back again. But it's been the top excursion in Alaska for 120 years now, and there's good reason for that. The scenery is mind-blowing as well as the history.
Okay. And so for those that have maybe taken the train ride and they're coming back to Alaska, what would be your next recommendation?
It's pretty hard to beat renting a car in Skagway. It is by far the best port in Alaska to do that with, and the reason is because the scenery north of Skagway is so incredibly varied when you get on a car, and you can take your own time and hike on the beaches or up the mountains and stop for photographs wherever. Fairly good chance of seeing wildlife early in the year until about mid-June when they head up into the high country. So all kinds of reasons to rent a car, and then you can typically. People go to Emerald Lake and back in about 5 hours. Some people come all the way up to Whitehorse, which is where I live. But to me, I don't really see the advantage of that. Emerald Lake gives you awesome scenery, and then you get lots of time to see Skagway itself when you get back again.
Okay. That sounds amazing. And now we have video. Yeah. And so along the way, let's talk a little bit about, and actually in the comments down below, you'll find links to Murray's website, to his free travel guide into the Yukon Territory, and also to his very expensive book on the Yukon Territory, the South Klondike Highway. It costs $5.95, and that's the only sales pitch you're getting on the whole discussion. But it is an amazing journey. The drive up and then the drive in. So tell us about some of the things that we'll see when we drive in. Because in just a little background, Murray and I did this show on Facebook a little while ago, and my granddaughter's going with us, so we're looking forward very much to being able to take my granddaughter to see some things we've seen in the past. But if you would go ahead and just give us some highlights from the trip in on the Yukon Territory, on the Klondike Highway.
The climate of Skagway initially is so incredibly dramatic. It's a steep climb for, excuse me, for 7.5 miles up these amazing granite cliffs. And on the opposite side of the valley for a couple miles, you can see the train going by as well. Then once you get up top, there's a world where it looks like the glaciers just left 5 years ago. There's nothing growing. There's nothing lives there. It's an amazing world. It's awesome hiking up there. There will still be snow right into July typically. So for those of you who have never seen snow, that's a great place to do it. And renting a car gives you that option. And then once you get up past that, there is a big chain of lakes that are basically the headwaters of the Yukon River. Lots of good beaches to walk on. And then continuing on, more mountains, historic mines. There's a 1912 huge wooden sulfur mine mill that goes down into Tagish Lake. And then once you get to Carcross, a cool little village where I actually lived for 7 years in a cabin with no running water to get back to Alaska reality shows. So I actually did it. Beyond Skagway, beyond Carcross, then you get to the world's smallest desert, which surprises a lot of people. And then up to Emerald Lake, by far the most photographed lake in the Yukon, and then back to Skagway. So total about 5 hours.
Okay, so we mentioned the Carcross Desert and the Emerald Lake, which at one point in time had a sign up there that said it was the most photographed lake in Canada. And the pictures I've seen on a sunny day are just stunning.
Sunshine next time, Ken.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because the last time I went, I didn't get sunshine. It was a gorgeous lake. We're glad we made the drive in. And like I said, and just from my perspective, you want to stop, it seems like about every 100 feet to take a picture of something. It is just gorgeous up in this drive. It is so incredible.
As many 100 times as I've done that drive, Ken, I can still take 150 pictures on a good day.
Yeah, it is. It's
just so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just nothing like it on the anywhere I've ever been. It's just so gorgeous. Caribou Crossing was one of the places that you can stop up there. And then you mentioned in the earlier show there was another place where you could go for, and you thought it was a better choice for dog sled.
Yeah, anybody who wants to experience a dog sled camp, my preference now, Michelle Phillips, who used to run the dog sled operation at Caribou Crossing, now has her own operation about halfway between Carcross and Skagway, Two Shy Sled Dog Adventures. And she does a great job there. And she ran the Iditarod again this year. I think this is her 4th time and came in 11th, I believe. Anyway, Michelle's great to work with, and the trail that she takes the dogs around is awesome. So that's great fun.
I know there's some fake gold panning at Caribou Crossing, and you can play with the huskies there. It seemed like, did they have a petting zoo?
There's no petting zoo. There's a goat walk, and they've got a taxidermy museum, which is pretty cool. Chuck Buchanan actually made a taxidermy a woolly mammoth that's quite remarkable. So the taxidermy museum is well worth seeing. It's excellent.
Okay. Yeah. So again, a lot of those things are things we're looking at and seeing, and those are things that you typically would not be able to see if you were taking that train ride and then turning around and coming back. I'm not sure, do any of the vans go in and see those places, or is that just something that you've got to do with a car?
Which places?
Like Carcross Desert and Emerald Lake. And
yeah, everybody stops at Carcross Desert. And most of them stop at the Caribou Crossing. And probably about half the operators go as far as Emerald Lake and turn around there because it is pretty amazing.
Okay.
So you don't have places like that. You don't need to rent a car. It's the places between there that, you need the option, especially if for anybody who's into hiking, a car rental is the way to go because there's some fabulous hiking.
Okay, and you mentioned some other things in the town of Skagway itself that were good. In fact, and you mentioned one in particular that were good for people with children. So, anything else in Skagway that they should think about?
Skagway's a great place to explore, and that's why I suggest only going as far as Emerald Lake and back in 5 hours, because that typically would give you 7 hours to explore Skagway itself, and it's great. If you have the rental car, it makes it even easier. But even walking around, go up to the Gold Rush Cemetery and have a look around there, and lots of interesting stuff. There's a beautiful walk over to Yakatania Point, which gives you a good broad look at the town and the cruise ship docks itself. So yeah, there's lots and lots to do, and the shops are kind of fun to poke around in.
Okay, and I think it must have been in Skagway that up by the airport there's a overlook maybe, or at least up on a hill, there's an overlook where you can see down into the valley and see the ship. And
That's right. The road that goes over to Dyea, the old ghost town of Dyea during the Klondike Gold Rush, there's an overlook there that you can see over the entire town and again off to the cruise ship ports and so on. And it's right above the airport.
so now let's move on to Ketchikan.
Ketchikan is a fabulous town. Well, when it comes right down to what's your favorite Alaska port, I'm not even sure I have one because they all have great stuff to do. In Ketchikan, the hands down favorite, it's pricey, but there's nothing like a fly-in trip into Misty Fjords National Monument. It is so incredible. I always go with Island Wings because as well as flying you in, they land on a wilderness lake and give you 30 minutes out on an island typically. So you can get out and just sort of savor the silence and this remarkable scenery. So that's by far the thing to do in Ketchikan.
Okay. And was Ketchikan where you're talking about traveling up Creek Street as well?
Yeah, Creek Street, if you want to stay in town, if you don't want to spend a bunch of money, Ketchikan is an awesome walking town. There's a heritage walking brochure you can pick up at any of the shop or the visitor centers, and great walking. Most of it is, even if you're having problem walking, it's mostly level. But going over to Creek Street, which is basically a boardwalk built over Ketchikan Creek, it is really cool. Lots of neat little shops. It can get really crowded because it is so cool, but it's well worth going and having a look at Creek Street.
Okay, and I have a comment here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can, Murray. It says, "Hi, Murray. Bought your guide for our trip out there in August. First cruise and first time to Alaska, and looking forward to the drive from Skagway."
Excellent, thank you.
So there's two of us at least bought your guide now. So. And you said that because again, like I said, the theme of my channel is traveling with a chair, and you did say that most of Ketchikan is reasonably wheelchair friendly.
That's right. Yeah, certainly once you get further into the walking tour, it does get fairly steep, but you can go for a long, long time almost level.
Okay. So very good. So for folks that have walkers or wheelchairs, that'll work as well. Okay, so we have Bridget Radcliffe with us, and she said she wanted to rent a car as well, and she asked about the Yukon Suspension Bridge, and what do you think of that?
I really enjoyed the suspension bridge. They got new owners 4 years ago, and they've done a great job. They've added more viewing decks, and if you're in the mood for a bite, the restaurant there is really, really good. They've got a garlic bison burger that's awesome. You can get a chair that looks right down into Two-Shy Canyon. Pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Okay.
And if you buy Murray's Guide, you get into the suspension bridge half price.
Okay, so half price if you get Murray's Guide. And if you're making this drive, I used Murray's Guide about 6 years ago when I made this drive, and I was so amazed by it, I'd tell everybody about it. So let me ask a quick question, though. The restaurant, is it on the far side of the suspension bridge or on the near side of the suspension bridge?
It's on the near side. You don't have to cross the bridge to do the restaurant.
Okay. The reason I ask is I mentioned my wife is a little bit height adverse. And so my granddaughter and I'm sure, will walk across the suspension bridge and back. But if my wife can eat there without getting on it, but the table looking straight down, she's not going to want that one.
And actually, you can have lunch at the restaurant without paying admission to the suspension bridge as well. They're separate operations.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Bridget asked another question. She asked about the GPS signal up in that area.
It's erratic. Depending on which GPS you've got, there are blind spots for sure. And it may very well tell you for substantial distances that you're off in the ditch. So take it with a grain of salt, but that they do work to give you your rough location.
Okay.
There is, however, no cell service. So you're on your own between Skagway and Carcross.
Yeah, it's nothing but mountain, but it's some gorgeous mountain. And what I will say is, Bridget, just kind of address your concern, is that you don't need a GPS on this road because you're going to basically follow one road, and Murray gives you the guide in like tenth of a mile increments. So you just set your trip odometer to 0 at the starting point he gives you, and then you're going to be really close for that entire leg of the trip. It is, like I said, his guide is amazing, and he will tell you where every outhouse, which is an important fact up there. I mean, there are bushes. The problem with going behind the bush is there might be a bear behind the bush, or some kind of other little furry critter.
Once you're in the White Patch, there's no bushes even.
Oh, well, okay. There's a stretch with no bushes. So, but he does tell you where the outhouses and restrooms are, and so you can look at the thing and you'll know exactly how far to the next place to stop. Okay, so we talked about Skagway and we talked about Ketchikan. So let's go to Icy Strait Point. Not everybody goes there. That is NCL stops there, I think, on every cruise now. Do you know who else stops in there, Murray?
I don't actually know. Celebrity does, and I'm not sure if anybody else does. Actually, there's not very many for sure. It's only one ship at a time, and it's a small place, and it is fairly new. But yeah, Icy Strait Point, does some stuff pretty cool. Great whale watching. Typically, we've had a humpback whale bubble net feeding in the harbor before we even got out on the water. So pretty amazing. There's a great zip line there. There's a nice walking trail through the forest, and walking from Icy Strait Point, which is the tourist facility owned by the Native Corporation, into the actual village of Hoonah is also excellent, right along the waterfront. And you can have a beer in town at a place called The Office, which is kind of cool.
Okay, and you mentioned something else that was really good that was available on the dock.
Oh yeah, king crab. There's the best king crab in Alaska, in my experience, is on the dock in Icy Strait Point. It is fabulous.
Okay, so that's on my list. I have about, I think, because I'm on the afternoon, because I mentioned to Murray on our Facebook show a little earlier that I'm going halibut fishing there. My granddaughter's going. She's 12 years old. She'll be 13 in a couple of months. And one of the things that I'm going to do is we're going to go out halibut fishing. And everything I saw indicates that was probably the best place to go halibut fishing. Was it a good choice?
Well, it depends on the time of year specifically, but generally it is in the upper end of places to go for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And for those of you that have never been halibut fishing, halibut get really big. You don't catch a lot of really big ones. The ones that you would keep are probably going to be in the 10 to 15 pound range, but you can catch them up north of 400 pounds. And if you do, you will have had a fight of the lifetime. I'm absolutely positive of that. You will probably need help reeling it in.
And those ones you want to eat anyway.
Huh? Yeah. Not good to eat, but it'd be a lot of fun to catch.
Fun experience, yeah.
Yeah. You'd want a picture of you with it, and then after that, it'd be all right. And by the way, Princess is going there according to Bridget. So depending on what you're looking to do there, Bridget, you might look at that. I understand that bear watching is also pretty good in there.
No. Yeah, I'm going to go up and say that. No, it's not. They used to call it bear viewing tours. Now they call it bear searches, which is a lot more accurate.
Okay.
And don't count on seeing bears there. If you want to see bears, really the only way to do it is to fly out to, out of Ketchikan or Anchorage typically. Yeah, none of the ports have good bear viewing except when you fly to somewhere else.
Okay. Or maybe along the South Klondike Highway.
Early in the year, yeah. When the dandelions first start coming out, so middle of May to the middle of June, then we get black bears along the South Klondike Highway quite often. But that's really the only place you're likely to see them. And then later in the year, you're not going to see them there either.
Okay, so that's early in the season thing. Yeah, where you're going to find them in the late season is you're going to find them somewhere along a river that's got salmon in it. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. Let me go back to Ketchikan for just a quick question, because I know the salmon run up Fish Creek, but when do you usually see salmon there?
When the Ketchikan gets 3 different runs of salmon, so you can see them in, if I remember right, early June, late July, and then early September.
Okay, so
all along up Creek Street.
so there's a chance in the first part of June we might see some.
There's a chance, yeah. The run should have started by then.
Okay, so that'd be really cool because I don't think it was I don't think they were running the last time we were up there. But
yeah, a good run in Creek Street is pretty impressive. It's just the creek just turns red. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Okay, so again, more film for your more film for your camera because you're going to need it for
film. Really?
Well, I'm sorry. More memory space for your camera.
More pixel.
Yep. We see you have company.
Yeah.
That's all right.
My dog.
We'll give her full credit on the film when it wraps. By the way, I do appreciate the comments, especially Bridget. You're chiming in there. If you guys are liking this show, I would ask that you like it. And by the way, if you like these kinds of things, I do a live show now every week. And I would say go ahead and subscribe so you can see it. I'm working on some more guests. None of them will be quite of Murray's stature, I'm sure, but we're looking forward to being able to talk to people about Alaska and about the things. Okay, so let's go to Juneau. You want to talk about new cruiser, first cruiser, and experienced cruiser in Juneau?
Well, even as experienced as I am with basically all the cruise ports, I still go whale watching at Juneau because it is guaranteed you're always going to see humpbacks there, and occasionally orca. Orca is the bonus, but I can watch humpbacks all day long.
Okay.
And then once you get beyond the whale watching, the Mendenhall Glacier is always a good trip out there. They, about 5 years ago now, built a new trail out to Nugget Falls, which is as close as you can get to the glacier itself. And it's wheelchair accessible. And yeah, it's a great walk.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that will be gorgeous. And there was something else you mentioned that you should do if the weather's good.
Yeah, especially for anybody who's into hiking, Mount Roberts is awesome. Take the tramway up, and then you can hike for days up there.
Okay, is there a clear mark trail from the top down?
Yeah, but it's pretty touchy. If it's been wet at all the last few days, it can be really treacherous.
Okay.
So I don't recommend that trail unless it's been dry for a long time, and that's not very common in Juneau.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Because I was thinking, because my granddaughter and I might be able to hike down. I don't know, but I think we're going to focus on this. I
would actually never recommend hiking down anyway, because that's when you can get in trouble. Hiking up, when it's time to back out. Okay. Hiking down, you don't often get that option. But taking the tramway up and hiking from there, by mid-July, there's awesome flowers and so on.
Okay.
Actually, when you're going to be up there, Ken, there'll still be snow up top.
Oh, okay. So we may not go up. Like I said, my big focus this year will be trying to get out to Mendenhall because we've never done Mendenhall. So I think that'll be.
Got to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Because Mendenhall is rapidly vanishing. The retreat, even in the 20 years I've been going there, is astounding.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's one of the things I follow is Arctic sea ice, and I look at what's happening to the glaciers, and it's sad. People that want to see them, in some cases, better go see them.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and I didn't ask you about this before, but what's the cruise like? Because I think on our southbound we're going by Hubbard Glacier.
Oh, love Hubbard. I mean, everybody raves about Glacier Bay, but I think the people that talk like that haven't been to see Hubbard Glacier. Hubbard Glacier is a standalone. It is so huge and it calves so often that it can be an absolute an experience that there are no words for. To see a face of a glacier that's miles across and hundreds of feet high, and see a wall come off towards you is mind blowing.
Okay.
So anybody who is going to Hubbard instead of Glacier Bay, don't say, "Oh, darn," because you may have an amazing experience.
Okay, yeah, we're looking forward to it, and that's one of those days you get up early and you find space in the observation room and
Yeah,
get a window seat and don't move.
well, that's where you want to be outside, though. If the weather is conducive to being out on the front deck, that's where you want to be because the sound of the calving is so incredible.
Ah, okay, I hadn't thought about the sound.
There's nothing quite like it. Yeah, inside you lose that kind of effect, and you hear these cannons going off, and it's, oh my God, and boom, down it comes.
Okay. Well, I am really, really excited about our trip. We have, I think I posted a countdown calendar earlier. It was 26 days and, some number of hours, and not that I'm thinking about it. And that doesn't count when we leave because, so now we're kind of going my trip in backwards because we've done all of the ports except where we embark is Seward. And we're flying into Anchorage, and I'll tell you my plan and you tell me what you think of it. But we're flying into Anchorage. We get in the middle of the afternoon into Anchorage on Saturday. We sail on Monday. And so what I have thought about, we've got a hotel close to the airport, and we'll just Uber over to the train station. The train is early. It's 6:30 in the morning it leaves. So that's it's an early thing. I thought about going to, I think it's Moose Jaw Pizza is supposed to be something worth seeing. I don't know if they say it's the largest or the highest grossing pizza restaurant in the United States. Is that someplace you've ever been?
I haven't been there, no.
You haven't been. Okay, so what would you do if you get in? Like, so we get in about 3:00, and we'll be tired, but we can, we're staying close to the airport. So what would you suggest in Anchorage as something easy to see with just a pretty narrow window?
I would take the trolley tour of downtown. Go around town, and it takes you down to Ship Creek, and if you luck in, there may be people fishing down there, and then out to Earthquake Park, where there was huge damage caused in the Good Friday earthquake in 1964, and it just gives you a good basic look at the city. So that's a good way to kill an hour and a half.
Okay, and is that like a hop-on, hop-off trolley, or is it just a tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, there are ones you can book and go start to start, but there are also hop-on and hop-off options.
Okay, and so I'll look for the hop-on, hop-off option because I love that. Then I can see what I want to see. Okay, and then we talked about that. I'm taking the train on Sunday morning over from Anchorage to Seward. Can you talk a little bit about that train ride and what you think of it?
That is the section of the Alaska Railroad that is so incredibly impressive. The rest of them are okay, but the Anchorage to Seward run is quite remarkable. Some of the canyons, you can barely see the sky. The mountains come so close together. Huge canyons, right, dropping off beside you. That's certainly the place for a lot of it where you want to have one of the dome cars. But also, I really like getting out into the vestibules outside, and so you can look down into the canyons and that kind of stuff as well. But it's a fabulous trip, and it is a totally different route than the highway. Like, it's miles away from the highway, so there's no similarity at all between the highway and the train trip.
Okay.
Well, the canyons that the train goes through, there is no room for a road.
All right, so I'm like I said, I'm way looking forward to that. Tell me about, now we get into Seward, and I told you we're going to do, there's like a Kenai wildlife tour with Major Marine. What is that like? And then maybe not necessarily that company, but the Kenai Fjords tours, and then also what else to do in Seward.
Well, the Kenai Fjords tours are certainly the thing to do in Seward, and that's another one of the things where the longer the tour you go on, the better, because the marine wildlife viewing in particular, but also the glaciers and just the scenery, in general, are so incredible. Seward is a kind of a funny town that most cruisers don't even see. They come in just before the ship departs, or as soon as they get off the ship, they're on the train and gone. And it's a shame because it's a beautiful town to walk around the Kenai Fjords, to me, is a must-see. But also, especially if you have kids, go and see the Alaskan Sea Life Center, which was actually funded by the Exxon Valdez disaster. But for kids, they have tanks set up where you can actually put your hands in and touch sea stars and urchins and this kind of stuff, and like 10-foot high windows so you can get up close and meet the sea lions and that kind of stuff. So that I highly recommend as well.
Okay. Is Seward, and just this is personal for me, is there a specific place that I should plan on eating in Seward? That because we'll be there for dinner. We're going to eat on the cruise. We've got a salmon and prime rib buffet, but then for dinner I don't really have anything on my agenda. So, is there a really good place to eat in Seward?
There are actually 3 or 4 places on the new marina, which is the closest part of Seward to where the cruise ships dock. And I can't even think of a name right now, but there are several really good places along the marina.
Okay.
Great view and great food.
Okay, so that sounds like a place to sit and enjoy the view too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see if we have any more questions. We'll take those. If not, I think we've